Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to Wild Werewolf. Are you ready to embark on a wild and thrilling journey into the world of werewolves? Here this live. We'll explore the untamed nature, the raw power, and the captivating stories of these mythical creatures. So, get comfortable and let's unleash the wildness together. Chapter 1, My Head and My Heart. Razzle and of course, it's a competition. It has always been a competition ever since we're born. When my dad Alpha Daniel Aguilar Huntington go mated to my daddy Luna Felix Ford, they knew that the dynasty had to go on. I mean, my family has been serving as Alpha of the Rutherford Falls Pack since its foundation, almost 120 years ago. It's the largest, strongest werewolf pack of the entire East Coast. We're feared, revered. Everyone knew not to mess with us. Our laws are absolute. My father led with wisdom and bravery. No one crossed him, not if they knew what's good for them. And the dynasty was not about to end at my dad just because his mate was a man. So, they used a werewolf surrogate to carry their children. The plan was to have one by Dad and another by Daddy Felix. However, as soon as they took the first ultrasound, there we were, Razzle and Endemit. They were so shocked about the news that they ended up not having any more children. I mean, Daddy Felix is already at Win. So if he had any kid, it would probably be another set of twins. That freaked the hell out of him. And who could blame him? Me and my brother were a lot of trouble already. Imagine another set of us. The only problem was to figure out who would succeed Dad as Alpha of the pack. Not any pack had twin alphas. Not any alpha had firstborn twins. There could only be one. But who? Dad refused to choose. At all. He said he couldn't pick between his children and again. Who could blame him? It was a hard choice to make. Maybe in the past, it'd be easy to go with the son. Barf. I know. Right. But now we had a female Delta. Women are capable of fighting just as hard as any men. Aunt Denise proved that in spades. Pressed against the wall, Elfthad had the brilliant solution of leading it up to the moon goddess. Because we're werewolves. The moon goddess chooses our soulmate for us when we turn 18. And it can be anyone. Literally. Human or werewolf. Of any gender. The only guideline we have is that they can't be older or younger than you by more than 1 year. 11 months and 29 days. So, no sugar daddies. And they can't be blood relatives. Naturally. And of course, no one can become alpha until they find their mate. Not in our pack nor in any wolf pack ever heard of. Now, my brother and I turned 17 a few months ago. The age of consent. That means that we can't find our mate yet. If they are 18, jackpot. Of course, that only applies if the mate is a wolf. Humans are completely unaware of any of this, so they'll not know about the bond unless a werewolf tells it to them. Like it happened to my parents. And my uncle mate. To brothers mated to human wins. The goddess has a sense of humor. Which brings us to today. For the past few months, my brother and I have been circulating all around town and beyond to see if anyone catches a whiff of us. You discover your mate by the scent. I mean, your wolf does. And today, we were about to attend the 18-year-old birthday party of Robert, eldest son of Casper and Lauren Williams, the heir of the Blood Moon Pack, our oldest and strongest ally. My entire family is coming. I mean, Uncle Nate couldn't go because he's the beta and left in charge of the pack in my dad's absence. But my Aunt Denise is going. She's mated to Tony Williams, Casper's brother. I was getting ready in my room when I hear a knock at the door and I let the person in. Our rooms were soundproof. So if we didn't open the door, the person wouldn't hear us say anything. It's a werewolf precaution. Otherwise, we wouldn't get any rest. We have a cute hearing. Rosalind, your dad sent me here to check on you. You're leaving shortly. Aunt Daphne told me as she entered my room. I'm just finishing up, Auntie. But since I have you here, can I ask you a personal question? I asked her in a mysterious tone and I closed the door. You know you can ask me anything. Rosalind, I'm here for you. She replied, not missing a beat. Since I was raised by 2 dads, Aunt Daphne was my go-to person whenever I needed a female adult perspective. I mean, I had an Aunt Denise, but we didn't have that kind of relationship. The only interaction I have with her is when she's kicking my ass at warrior training. How long did you wait until? You know, I questioned, giving her a suggestive look. Wow. I did not see this coming. She exclaimed, surprised. If you're uncomfortable answering, it's okay. I rush to tell her, but she scoffs. Girl, please. This is nothing. I will say this to you, I'm not a good role model in this subject. I mean, I became intimate with a boy way younger than you are now. However, it only really counted after I've been with your uncle. She replied, pensive. So whoever you're with, make sure you only do what you want, not what they do. Also, don't do anything till you can feel safe with the person. That's the main thing. Mate made me feel safe. That's why I trusted him. She continued, now a little flustered. Thanks, Aunt Dev. You're the best. I thank her with a kiss on her cheek. They're waiting for you downstairs. Come on. She rushed me. The entire family is at the entrance hall of the pack house. As I arrive, I see my brother looking bored and my cousin looking sharp. My dad sees me and he immediately starts speaking. Guys, before we go, I just want to say one thing. In the off chance any of you is mated to Robert, keep in mind you can't reject him. I mean it. You don't have to go to bed with him. Dad gross. I shouted, grimacing. But you cannot, under any circumstances, reject him. That goes for the both of you. He continued in a serious tone. No offense, Dad, but I highly doubt my mate is a guy. I'm all about the poo, and it spoke but got interrupted by Daddy Felix. We get it, son. You don't need to announce it. Your father was just warning you, he said, nervously. We entered our cars and left for the Blood Moon Pack. Though his parents weren't coming, as Aunt Daphne stayed with her mate Uncle Nate, John asked to join us for the trip. He was their oldest son. At 15, we arrived after a few hours driving. We had a large entourage. Between my parents and their warriors, the Delta family, my uncle Damon and his family, and my cousin, we were a lot. Thankfully, the place was huge. It was the second largest pack of the East Coast. It was crawling with warriors everywhere to keep the place safe. I mean, it was the heir of the pack's birthday, not to mention all the distinguished guests like my dad's. As we entered the territory, we're greeted by Alpha Casper and Luna Lauren. They welcome us to their pack and my parents reminisce about the time they're just kids. I quickly start to move around as I am a girl with an agenda, since I couldn't sniff out my mate yet. The least I could do is spread my scent all over the place. I'm sure my brother is doing the same thing. It's a race. After all, first to get mated wins. And I'm not about to let my idiot twin beat me to it. After half an hour, we are introduced to the birthday boy and he's gorgeous. I wouldn't mind if he was my mate, but I don't think I was born to be a Luna. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Because it's his 18th birthday. His dad makes a boring speech and he has to roam the entire room for his mate. He can't ascend as alpha without them. As you know, he comes near me and I'm not gonna lie. I hold my breath. Not that it would make any difference. You can't hide your scent from a werewolf, especially if they're your mate. But I'm not the one. Of course. Now I on the lookout to see if it's my brother. Can you imagine if my straight brother gets a male mate? And an alpha at that. I would die from the laughter. But alas, it's not him either. He doesn't find them anywhere. Sorry, buddy. I would volunteer. But it's not up to me. Only the moon goddess spares us. Relieved, John asked me as he came near where I was. Sort of. I mean, I don't want to be Luna. Don't tell my daddy I said that. But he's so handsome I'd give it a try. I snickered. John grimaced. Cheer up, John. It's a party, I told him and sipped my soft drink in hand. I am cheered. I just don't see what the fuss is about. He replied with a sour look. You will. Don't worry. You're still young. I rebuked. I'm not that young. I'm only 2 years younger than you. He retorted. I know, but at our age it might as well be light years. I snickered. He scowled. I understand it's not a measure of time, but it gets the point across. A few hours in, We're getting ready to return to our pack. Dad is congratulating Alpha Casper and Luna Lauren, saying that they need to hang in there, as Casper wasn't mated until he was nearly 19. It could be worse. It can always be worse. You could have a crush on someone who could never be your mate. And I mean ever. I was admiring the moon at a distant place from the crowd, when I was surprised by a kiss on my lips. Are you crazy? Do you want everyone to catch you with me? I barked at him, furious. He should have known better. Of course not. But I couldn't resist it. You looked so adorable admiring the moon. Are you praying to the goddess to mate you before your brother? He snickered. No, idiot. I was just admiring the moon till I got blindsided. I had to restrain myself to not shout at him. That would attract even more attention to us. I'm sorry, Rosalind. I didn't mean to startle you. But since I got your attention, can I kiss you? He asked with lust in his eyes. Damn it. Well, hell, now that you already got your scent in me, we might as well enjoy ourselves before I have to wash it all off in the bathroom. I croaked. Then I pulled him aside and lay it on him. He was so adorable. So hot. You try resisting a kiss from someone who looked like a young Thor. We kissed each other passionately for a minute, before I excused myself and went to wash his scent off me so that my family doesn't catch it. But damn, that boy looked good, and he was gonna be the death of me. If I don't lose Alpha because of him, that is. Chapter 2, Don't Speak, John. I know we're not supposed to get involved romantically, but it's not my fault. The heart wants what it wants and my heart aches for her. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, she is my cousin but in name only. We're not actually related as she is not actually Uncle Felix's daughter. And since my dad and Uncle Daniel aren't brothers by blood, Rosalind and I aren't related at all. But that's not even the worst part. The real problem is that she is 2 years older than me, which means that we cannot be mated to each other. So yes, I'm going to have my heart broken any moment now when she finds her mate and I could do to prevent it. Truthfully, I can't even root for her not to find her mate, because if she doesn't her brother ascends, and that would suck. Not to mention that if Emmett becomes Alpha, I have zero chance of being Beta of the pack. Emmett's Beta will be his best friend, so my only shot at it is if Rosalind ascends. So yeah, that's the situation I'm in. When I first shifted 2 years ago, I promised myself I wouldn't let anyone decide my fate. I would make my own destiny, like my Aunt Denise did when she became the first female Delta of the pack. So I've been training with her and the twins ever since. I trained till the point my body was so sore it barely had time to wolf heal. Soon, Delta Huntington, as she makes us call her, was giving me additional exercises, and I trained some more. I had a huge growth spurt once I was able to shift and started training. Not to brag, but I am the same height as my cousin Emmett, who is 2 years older than me. It was summer, so we didn't have school. But warrior training doesn't stop. When I first asked about it at 13, my Aunt Denise said, sure, let me just call all the rogues and enemy packs not to attack us because it's summer. I know, right. I freaking love her. She's awesome. Today, as part of our training, she's teaching us how to defend ourselves against a wolf. But as humans, you know, in case you get attacked and don't have time to shift, which can happen to anyone in human form. If you start shifting and a rogue attacks you, you'd be totally vulnerable to them. Possibly they could kill you even before you completed the shift. 1 hour in, I'm covered in bite marks and am bleeding from my arms. We start to walk back to our homes. My mom is gonna freak when she sees this. I panic. As the bleeding continued, it was bandaged, but not well. Not by a doctor or nurse. I know, when Daddy saw our first bleeding injury, he nearly had a heart attack. He thought we were attached by rogues. Emmett snickered, but got serious all of a sudden. I mean, but that's because he trailed off. I know, Emmett. I spoke in a sad tone. Anyway, I guess it goes with the territory. Let the wolf healing begins. I tried to say it in an amusing tone. They laughed softly. See you guys after lunch, I asked. Expectantly, see you later at the pack house. John, good luck with your mom. Emmett chuckled. As expected, As soon as I entered the house, my mom screams when she sees me. "Were you attacked?" she said as she rushed to my aid. "No, Mom. It's part of the warrior training. He is to learn how to defend himself against a wolf. You do not always have time to shift before an attack." Dad interjected. He tried to be blaze about it, but he too was scared by the look of it. Fucking Denise. Is she preparing my son or trying to kill him? I can't tell anymore. Mom snickered as she took her medical case and started cleaning the wounds. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't kill a minor, especially the beta's son. Dad snickered, but Mom did not look happy. "Are you gonna talk to her about it?" she asked him. Angrily, no. "I don't want you to complain to anyone about my training. She's the reason I got this good," I shouted. "But Joan, look at this," she cries as she looked at the nasty gash in my arm. It was ugly. A wolf's canine was no joke. "I know, Mom, but if Dad complains about it, she'll get even worse. She's vicious. You should see how she treats the twins." I winned. I wasn't lying. The twins were more advanced, so they got dealt harsher than me. "I believe you," she said with a dark tone. I winced at the pain when she applied the medicine at the wounds. After a good half-hour of doctoring by my mom, "She's finished and I'm starving. What's for lunch today? Why can't I smell anything?" I asked, quizzically. "Go take a shower. We're having lunch at the pack house today," Mom replied. I celebrated. She had to wrap the bandages in plastic so they don't come undone under the shower. I tried not to get it wet, but it's not like I couldn't use both my arms. I mean, it was bad. At the pack house dining hall, everyone is there. Aunt Denise has a toddler in each arm, which is a rare sight. Uncle Damon had a toddler, but his mate had him. "So John, how was training today?" Uncle Dan asked me between bites of his meal. "You mean the one where your sister almost killed my son?" Mom interjected, furiously. Everybody looked at her and Aunt Denise. "Mom, you promised." "Dad," I screamed. Dad glared at my mom, who was unfazed. I didn't complain about it. Delta Huntington, I swear. She just freaked when she saw the wounds. I rushed to tell her, apologetic, but she too was unfazed by my mom's words. "That's okay, nephew. I believe you. That's why you're my favorite." She winked at me. Hayamit shouted. "I train just as hard as him. And I never complained to my dad. You know, the alpha." He gave her a menacing look. "And you wonder why John's my favorite." Aunt Denise snickered. My dad, Rosalind, and the rest of the people laughed, except for Uncle Dan and Emmett. "Denise, he is your nephew too." Uncle Dan chimed in, looking at her with a pleading look. "I know he is Daniel, because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be able to eat today from the bruises." She looked at him threateningly. "Jesus, you people make me miss my dad." Uncle Felix snickered. "She's your people too. You know, do you need to see the marriage certificate?" Uncle Dan joked, looking at Uncle Felix. "Of course." He giggled at his mate. "So, Uncle Dan, can I ask you something?" I said as I sound unintentionally mysterious. "Of course, nephew. Ask me anything." He promptly replied, "Is it true that we can smell when a girl is pregnant?" I asked him and it's like a bomb went off. "Oh my God," Mom yelled. "Who did you get pregnant?" She looked beside herself. Everyone looked at me. I mean, everybody at the table, including my dad, gasped. "Oh my goddess. Mom, I was just curious. I didn't get anyone pregnant." I shouted in my defense. I was mortified, not in the least by the look Rosalind gave me. It was a utter shock. "Are you sure, son? Because I need to know if you did. I can talk to her," Mom insisted. "Daphne, stop. Please. You're embarrassing me in front of everyone. Dad, tell her. Things would have to be pretty bad for me to call her by her name." And she knew it. Dad whispered something in her ear. She calmed down, but the entire table still looked at me. If I show up with an unmated pregnant girl here, I think my dad would disown me, Emmett said, looking scared. "And you'd be blocked from being alpha," Uncle Dan stated, which of course made everyone even more spooked. "That goes for the both of you," By the way, he continued, Rosalind was mortified. Thanks, cousin. Rosalind snickered, and I knew I was fucked. I didn't get anyone pregnant. I'm only 15 years old, and I don't even have a girlfriend yet. I yelled, mostly at Rosalind, but I couldn't make it sound that way. So, to answer your question, John, yes, it's true. Wolves can smell if a girl is pregnant. I was the one who told your mom she was pregnant with you and your brother. Uncle Dan told me in a calm voice. Mom mumbled show off. However, that can only happen if you've already been around someone who's pregnant. You know what I mean. It's not an innate scent. You have to smell it before to pick it up. So there's no way you can smell it just yet. He continued, in a reassuring tone. Thanks, Uncle Dan. I know I can always count on you. I replied cheerfully, trying to make myself less embarrassed. Later that day, I was at the falls with Rosalind, which was our makeout spot, so she started, but I didn't want her to finish. I swear I was just curious. It meant nothing. I haven't done anything. I defended myself as we sat next to each other near the water. I know, John, obviously, but it did make for an interesting conversation topic. She pointed it out. Interesting to whom? To everyone staring at me after my crazy mom accused me of having an unmated pregnancy. I shouted. I was furious at my mom. It was just an innocent question. No, of course not. She was just being a mom. I mean, interesting for us. Rosalind stated. We don't have to talk about it. Rosalind, I know we can't do anything and I would never pressure you to. I think you know that by now. I told her in an annoyed tone. I know, John. Relax. That's not what I was going to say. She turned me to look at her deeply in the eyes. I know what you're going to say. Okay. I'm not stupid. I know it has nothing to do with us having sex. You want to tell me that I can't have any expectation from you, that our relationship can never go beyond what we have, that this is as good as it gets, and at any moment, we won't be able to have any of this anymore because you'll be mated. I know. I blurted. Once I started, I couldn't stop. Then I cried. So she hugged me. You don't need to tell me cause I already know. And I don't care. I'll take what I can while you let me. I continued. I sobbed for a long time in her arms after this. I didn't want for this to happen. You know that. She said as she held me. I could feel her eyes weren't dry either. I know, Rosalind. I just want you to know it's none of our fault. And I'm not blind here. I mean, of course, it'll hurt me when it happens. But I know it can't be helped. I told her, confidently, after a good while. We washed our faces on the water. We liked to bathe here occasionally, but today wasn't one of those days. I just needed to be close to her, send her, kiss her. Hey, just because we can't have sex doesn't mean we can't fool around. She snickered, playfully. I could smell the lust in the air. Mostly was my own. I can't lie. But hers also. She took off her shirt, but kept her bra on. I had already removed mine cause she likes to admire my abdomen when we're together. She then sat on my lap and kissed me. After a moment of making out, she then said, Okay, you can take just your pants now. She ordered me, looking anxious. I complied in seconds. She then sat on my lap again and rode me while clothed. She liked to feel my nature and I liked to feel any part of her she would let me. Of course, I want more, but as I said before, I'll take what I can get. And I enjoyed every second of it. Chapter 3, More Than Words I'm Not Used to Losing. When you're the only son of a revered, respected alpha of a mighty dynasty, you grow up under certain expectations. And obviously the main one is that you'll succeed him. It's what his father expected of him, his dad's father, and so on, dating back to the inception of Rutherford Falls Pack. But then I had to contend with someone no one saw it coming, my twin sister. Of course, I could be an ass about it and say that I was the obvious choice. But as much as I like to give my sister grief, I wasn't the obvious choice. We both were. She could fight nearly as fiercely as I did. Her wolf was every bit as majestic as mine was. And she was smart and confident, and ready for anything just like me. In other words, it's in the goddess' hands. But I want it. I want it badly. If I could fake being mated to someone, I'd probably cheat. That is if I wasn't afraid the goddess would pair me with a serial killer or something. I mean, you don't want to piss off the deity of all werewolves. Not to mention, if when I get caught lying, I would not only be removed from Alpha, I'd be banned from the pack altogether, destroying my family's 120 years reputation. So no, that wasn't a choice. That being said, I'm anxious as hell. When we went to the Blood Moon Pack yesterday, I was hopeful. Apart from being mated to the Alpha's son, I'd be down with just about anyone. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all about the ladies, but if my dad taught us any lesson is don't discard anyone, so I braced myself. Still, nothing. Also, it sucks that I can't find anyone yet. All I can hope for is to be found by a hot senior or a college girl. One can only dream. Actually, scratch that. I didn't even dream about her. If I did, I'd drive to hell and back to get her. At breakfast, Dad asks me if I had any interesting dreams lately. He thinks he's so clever. If I had, I'd be already on my way to meet her, not having breakfast. Because I'm the son of the Alpha, the goddess would allow me to dream about my mate prior to turning 18. It's what happened to every Huntingtonaire since the beginning of time. It gives us an opportunity to talk to our Luna prospects after all. If they are not by my side on my next birthday, I don't ascend as Alpha. However, that also means that my sister can ream it too. So, like I said, I'm anxious. No, Dad, I didn't dream with anyone. If I did, I'd be in my car already. Not crying about it to Uncle Nate like you did. I snickered. I know I touched a sore spot, so I braced for impact. When my dad dreamed with his mate, it was also a revelation for him, because his mate was a guy and no one knew about it. So when Uncle Nate, his brother, found out Dad's mate's identity, it was his coming out moment. It was a scandal at the time for an ascending Alpha to be mated to a boy. A human one, which made it worse. Thank you for that assessment, son. It's so nice when the worst moment of your life or so I thought at the time can be used as entertainment by one's progeny. He stated calmly. Our car. Rosalind interjected, glaring at me. Starting Monday, you'll help the groundskeeper in the garden. It's time you learn something useful. He continued in my wind. No, Dad. I hate gardening. The only green I like is the one under my wolf when I'm running. I croaked. Precisely. You'll start right after breakfast. He insisted. Oh man, you gotta be kidding me. I complained. Loudly. I don't kid. That's final. He declared in his serious Alpha tone. Dad had a way of telling people what to do in a deep, penetrating voice that distinguished from his usual tone. It's what my sister and I called his Alpha voice. It's so commanding. I envied it. Not gonna lie. I want to order people around too. The guy never lost his cool. It's amazing. I half expected him to ban me from the table. But I guess I should expect the unexpected. Always. After breakfast, we have training and Denise kicked my ass yet again. I've never seen anyone fight like her. She's ferocious. That's probably why she's the first female Delta of the pack. Delta is the head warrior. That means she leads 50 people in charge of protecting our land. And a vast majority of them are men. But John actually got worse from us today. Poor guy. He was bitten all over. It was hard to watch. And his mom's not a werewolf, so she will not be cool about it. I mean, neither was Daddy Felix. But that's just because I didn't like thinking my daddy was mortal. Yes, it's ridiculous. We all are. But I love Daddy Felix so much. I don't want anything to happen to him. Not like it did when he got attacked by rogues before I was even born. He doesn't leave the compound alone anymore ever since. I got to our house, take a shower, and go back to my room. How can a house this big don't have bathrooms in the rooms? It's mind-blowing. Which is also one of the reasons I wanted to make Alpha. The perks of the job come with your own private suite. The only one in the pack house, apart from the visitor's wing. And that's off limits to anyone not visiting. Shallow. I know. I'm a lonely teenager who wants to have his own shower. Suit me. Actually, that's a lie. I'm anything but lonely. Not to brag, that I get by easily with girls. It just sucks that I can't make any one of them my girlfriends. Or risk a Luna Lauren situation. Not that I mind terribly, but they do. At least, the female wolves. They're too clever to get tangled to someone they're not mated to. Especially the son of the alpha. Funny. I almost envied Dad. At least, he dated who he thought it was his mate. I sort of wish that for myself. It's more difficult to get in someone's pants if you have to keep trying for a different girl every time. And girls taught. It's not that big of a school. But anyway, no complaints here. I'd be around. Plus, human girls are awesome too. I just don't want to be mated to any of them. No offense, Aunt Daphne. I was playing video game when I scented my sister sneak into the house. She always had these walks in the afternoon, and she always comes washed off any scent. It's very suspicious. It's almost like she's, oh my goddess. She has a secret boyfriend that she doesn't want to introduce us. Way to go. Rosalind. Who knew you had it in you? Of course. I'm not gonna let that stand. What kind of a brother would I be? We're having dinner. Dads are talking about something boring like always. Aunt Denise is busy with her toddlers she only had the weekend to care for. Rosalind was concentrated in her meal. So, sister, when are you going to introduce us to your secret boyfriend? I asked her in the most deadpan tone I can muster. Matt Spidey. My faded mate. White splashed around me and my wind spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. Have you been drinking again? Emmett. I don't have a boyfriend. She deflected. Expertly. Have you been drinking? Emmett. When did this happen? Daddy shouted at me. Daddy. Not the point. Aren't you gonna ask Rosalind about our secret? No, I will not. If she had a boyfriend, my daughter would tell me. She tells me everything. He replied. Confidently. I scoffed. Right. Dream on. Old timer. I snickered. I'm not even 40. Who are you calling old? He rebuked. Pissed off. Rosalind. Do you have? Dad asked with a curious tone. I don't have a boyfriend. I think Emmett is on drugs. Rosalind deflected again. Goddess. She's good. But Spidey. My faded mate. White splashed around me and my wind spun with the beat of the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. Have you taken any? No, Daddy. I've never taken any drugs in my life. Rosalind is just saying because she doesn't want to talk about her secret boyfriend and is a master at deflecting. I yelled. I don't have a secret. Where were you this afternoon? I asked her point blank. Out walking. Is that allowed? She snickered. Alone. You. I asked suspiciously. Yes, I was alone if you must know. Now, can you let it go? She's in my face. Right? I've never seen you walking alone in my life. I replied. Now, I was pissed. I was having cramps. Are you satisfied? Do you need to check my tampons too? She retorted. Angry with me. Ed. Leave your sister alone. She's allowed to walk. Just be careful. Sweetie, Dad said as he caresses her hand. I am Dad. Thank you. She says as she bat her eyelashes for him. Charmingly. Admit. Advice. You'll never win an erect assault. You have to surround your enemy and catch them off guard. Aunt Denise chimed in. She looked amused by our bickering. Delta. Rosalind shouted, baffled at her words. Thanks for the advice, Aunt Denise. I'll cherish it. I thanked her. After the discussion at the dining hall, Rosalind goes to her room but not before texting someone as soon as she got up from the table. We're not allowed to use our phones during meals. Not us kids anyway. I thought it was fishy, but that could have been anyone. I go about my business. Later, I drift off in my single bed. I am at school. At wrestling practice. I take everyone down. There's this girl on the sidelines. I've never seen her before, but something about her seems odd. She seems uncomfortable being there. She looked displaced. I'm at school again. We're playing ball. We have to leave for the showers and the girl followed us inside. Everyone teased her relentlessly. She's crying. I want to comfort her, but I can't. She doesn't change, doesn't take off her clothes. She just stands there, taking abuse. It's so disheartening, I just want to hold her close and then. Wake up. Breakfast. Daddy knocks at my door. Chapter 4, Patience Rosalind. There was no breakfast late when you lived at the pack house. I mean, not unless you're willing to skip it altogether. And we are hungry like the wolf. Pun intended. I get to the dining hall just before Emmett, as always, and I was the girl of the twins. I go about preparing my plate when he dropped a bomb on us. Dad's. I think I dreamed about my mate. Emmett said, and I was floored. What? I dropped my plate, I was so upset. No. I started crying. Daddy immediately got up from his seat and came to my side. He hugged me close and kissed my temple. Are you serious? Emmett, this isn't something to joke about. Dad warned him. I would never joke about it. Daddy replied, looking astonished. And yes, no one would ever joke about it. Dreams were not something we took lightly, especially mate dreams. Who are they? Daddy asked from my seat. He was still by my side. I don't know. He replied in a sad tone. Sorry, son. That doesn't count. Dad said, and I exhaled. I was so relieved I was shaking. What do you mean, Dad? Emmett was shook by Dad's response. Daddy left me and went back to his seat next to his mate. Son, unless they are in front of me, it doesn't count. Of course not. Dreams don't count. It wasn't until Felix forced me to come out that my life started. At last, Dad blurted, Hey, I didn't force you. I gave you a choice. It's not like I outed you. Daddy rebuked. Annoyed. They were so adorable together. Don't remind me of the dream soap opera, Dan. It was months before your father told us he had dreamed about a boy. Our parents were losing their minds not knowing who it was. Aunt Denise chimed in. Dad glared at her. So this person who you dreamed about is. Daddy started. But we all got what he wanted to know. I know what you're asking. Daddy. Sorry. She's a girl. Emmett said with a relieved sigh. I laughed. No surprises there. If there's a straight guy I know, it's my brother. He may not have had sex yet, supposedly, but he probably already kissed half the school girls' population. But something strange happened in the dream. He started as he frowned. What? Did she take your virginity? I snickered. He was not happy about that. Fuck you. Rosal in. He spat at me. You're the biggest virgin I know. Emmett. Language. Rosal in. Leave your brother alone. Daddy scolded us. Tell us. Son, Dad was curious. So, in the dream, we were playing sports, but when we left for the locker room, I see where this is going. Aunt Denise snickered. But Dad was not laughing. Denise, shush. Continue. Son, Dad silenced her. He was at the edge of his seat. When we entered, she followed us inside. Me and the rest of the boys. But she didn't do anything. And they just teased her about it. And it spoke in a somber tone. Oh my goddess. Daddy shouted. Wait. Do you know who she is? Dad asked him, looking surprised. No, I don't know who she is. I haven't been to a school since the last T meeting. Daddy snickered. Then why did you? Dad asked him. Quizzically, I think I know what she is. He said, and we were looking at him. Baffled. What? What do you mean what she is? You mean she's human? Emmett asked. Puzzled. No, son. Sorry. Never mind. I spoke out of turn. I don't know anything about her. He backtracked. What? You sounded so sure. Emmett was disappointed. I know, son. I'm sorry. I think I got carried away a little bit. He replied in a sad tone. After this much excitement at breakfast, warrior training was a breeze. I mean, not really. Have you met Aunt Denise? Marat Spidey. Why they didn't eat. White splashed around me and I wouldn't stand with the beat at the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. Are you kidding me? John asked as he exercised. I would never joke about it. Trust me. Emmett replied in a serious tone, while he exercised as well. How does she look like? John asked. Quizzically, I couldn't get a good look at her face. I just know she had blonde hair and a petite build. Just the way I like it. Emmett drooled. Barf. Does she have big? John gestured breasts in his chest. I screamed at him. John, focus. Keep the drooling to a minimum. He doesn't even know who she is. I yelled. They both startled. Don't mind her. She's just jealous she's gonna lose Alpha. Emmett snickered. I'm not losing anything until she is in my presence and your eyes are black. I scoffed. I was pissed. Can't hide. But I'll be damned if I'm gonna let this deter me. I'm gonna be Alpha. Hurrah. He commemorated, looking dumb as he did jumping jacks. You didn't know school's out for another 2 months. Right. Plenty of fish in the ocean till then. I snickered. As I said this, it dawns on him that dream took place at school, which probably means he's not meeting her for at least another 2 months. At this realization, his mood completely shifted. Fuck. You're right. He stopped the jumping jacks and Denise scowled. I don't fucking care who's ascending. Get to the fucking exercise now, or I will petition the council to block your ascension. She yelled at him. Emmett was so scared he jumped in full force. The council is a group of prestigious elder werewolves of the pack. Former alphas, betas, lunas, and deltas also make up the respected collegiate. It's up to the council to oversee the work of the alpha, beta, and luna, including the pack's finances. And in case there's any irregularity, only the council has the power to remove any of them from office. And yes, they also have the power to suspend or block our ascension as alpha or beta if there's any cause. You can appeal, of course, but if they don't reverse their decision, no one can. Literally, Delta, like all warriors, are immune from their authority. Plus, none of them deals with money or anything like that. Their job is to protect the pack, and they only answer to the beta or alpha. Sorry, Delta, he mumbled. Sorry is the laps you're gonna run after you finish this. 2 laps around the territory. Go now. She spat. He ran. Our compound was huge. By the time he'd get back, would be already 10 to in training. I felt bad for him, but I continued my exercises quietly. You don't want to antagonize the Delta. Trust me. That's a lesson hard learned. Plus, she alone is in charge of our training. And if you don't train, you can't ascend. It's that serious. I mean, who is going to respect an alpha without warrior training? You have to be a soldier first, if you want to make general. After lunch, I took our car and drove John to another spot in town. I couldn't risk him at finding out about my business. He's already suspicious as it is. I know you're freaking out about this. Don't even try to put on a brave face. He started as we got off from the car to the open field. I won't. I was so freaked out I barely had any breakfast. I dropped my plate when I heard him saying. I admitted in a nervous tone. I'm sorry. I really am. I want you to be alpha, especially if I am to have any shot at being beta. He confessed. Not that I am surprised. His dad is the beta, and we are a dynasty after all. I know, but to be honest, I don't think it's gonna be me. I haven't dreamed about anybody. Other than you. I giggled at the last part. He opens a giant smile. You dreamed about me. When? He was curious as he grinned. A while ago. It was nothing much. Just that we were. You know, I replied, sheepishly. No, I don't know. Please tell me in details. He snickered. If it's possible, his smile opened even wider. I think he's distending a muscle or something. I can't. I'm sorry. A girl never kisses and tell. I deflected. All right. You're no fun. But if you're down to. John, your stench is distracting me. Think of something else. Please. I shut him down. Hard. I'm sorry. I'm just jealous that I'd never dreamed about it. I mean, while sleeping at least. He snickered. But I'm not amused. John, I mean it. Think of something else or I'll walk back to the car. I gave him an ultimatum. Furiously. All right. I'm sorry. How are your parents doing? You know, with the news. He changed the subject and I felt a bit better. I mean, sometimes the stench of his sexual desire intoxicates me. It blocks my thinking entirely. It's dangerous. I'm glad I can't trust him to follow my lead, or at least respect my boundaries. That is obviously very important. They were shocked. Obviously. Daddy Felix even said he knew what she was, which confused Dammit even more. But I think he meant that she's a human. I told him. I was confused as well by his words. I can imagine the scene when he announced, "You probably saw your life flashing before your eyes." He joked. I mean, I'm not gonna die if I don't ascend. But I take your point. You're not that far off. I croaked. So, your text said that Emmett was suspicious. Of what? He asked curiously. He saw me arriving home and I guess he was intrigued 'cause he knows I don't go for walks. Especially not alone. He didn't buy my response. I told him. A little nervous. I get it. I wouldn't buy too. He snickered. Well, we need to come up with better excuses. I half expect him to steal my phone and look at my texts. I said with a cheeky smile. Really? Isn't your phone password protected? He asked, looking confused. That was a joke. Dude, if he steals my phone, I'll petition the council to block his ascension myself. I snickered. He laughed. No council person in their right mind would take any petition of mine seriously. Not unless I had actual proof my brother committed a crime. Our ascension competition is not exactly a secret. Pretty and funny. Who knew? He remarked. When he's like this is the most difficult to resist. I moved to kiss him and he put his arms around me. He was taller, though younger. Actually, he was just as tall as Emmett, which baffled me. He was 2 years younger than us and already had the body of a Nordic god. I swooned. We make out for a good while, but this time more behaved. I mean, he still was shirtless. I'm only a werewolf, but I kept it PG. After we burn enough calories, I need to get back. Before your mom sends a search party. I joked, said the only daughter of the Alpha. If there's any search party, it'll be for you. He snickered. I laughed. I loved admiring him when he's talking about anything silly. Damn it. Rosalind, are you listening to me? He snatched me out of my thoughts. Yes, I'm sorry. John. I turned to look at him. A little shy. Your time will come. I'm sure. It's just that the goddess can't be rushed. I know. I interrupted him, but she always gets it right in the end. He continued with a smile. I looked at his chiseled jawline and long blonde hair. I don't know goddess. With all due respect. How can you make it better than this? Unless you send me an actual Hemsworth. He caught me in my thoughts again. I was giggling to myself and... Rosalind, he shouted. What? I asked, a little startled. I love you. He spoke and I was shocked. Gobsmacked at his words. Chapter 5, Can't Help Falling in Love, John. The whole drive back was awkward. I knew it would. I just had to open my big mouth. I looked like a love-sick puppy. I was disgusted with myself. The one rule I knew not to break. Don't fall in love. Don't fall in love. She can't be your mate. But of course, I had to say it. Fuck. 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 She parked the car in front of my house and waited in silence for me to get off. I'm sorry I said it. It just came out. I'm so sorry. I tried to apologize. Leave. Please. It's all Rosalind said and I did as she ordered. Then she departed. I started crying from the moment I left her car to the moment I got in my room. My parents asked me if I wanted something to eat. I dismissed them and went straight to my room. Thankfully, my kid brother Matt wasn't there as I wasn't in the mood to play or talk. I cried myself to sleep, but not before I texted her an apology. As the night fell, my mom gracefully woke me up to eat dinner. I didn't want to eat anything, honestly, but I was hungry. At the table, my parents noticed my brooding mood. Is everything okay? Son, Dad asked. Yes, Dad. Thanks, I replied. Curtly, he glanced at my mom. They looked at each other confused. Dad, how did you know you could convince Mom to be with you? I asked him after a while. I didn't know. All I could do is to be honest with her and hope for the best. He answered without thinking. I knew you'd say it. That's such a dad response. I snickered. It's the truth, son. I put the cards on the table and hoped the goddess wouldn't let her reject me. Dad insisted. Eyebrows shut up. I could tell he's being honest. He always is. He's the most decent guy I know. And I don't mean that just because he's my dad. He really is. I looked up to him so much. Mom, how did you not flee when this guy pointed at my dad? Told you he's a werewolf. I asked, looking her in the eyes. I did fled. But then he started shifting and I got scared. Then Denise chastised me for making him shift in the middle of the street. Mom told me. She air-quoted Denise and everything. I laughed. That sounds like Aunt Denise. I smiled. I just can't believe you never dated anyone before you're mated. At least, Uncle did had Lauren to pass the time. I snickered. Mom gasped. Hey, Lauren was not a hobby. They thought they were gonna be mates. Dad protested. Yeah, and what do you do when it's someone you can't be mated to? I blurted. I regretted instantly saying that. Why can't you be mated? Mom asked. She was looking at me with curiosity. Never mind. Mom forget I said anything. I croaked. Son, is there something you'd like to tell us? Dad asked point blank. No, Dad. Like I said, forget about it. I replied in a gloomy tone. You know, you are too young to meet your mate. But if you like someone, whoever they are, we're not gonna judge you. Dad said, looking me with his puppy dog eyes. I know, Dad, but I can't say anything if they don't like me back. I replied, a little mad. Sadness took over me at the realization. Mom went to hold me, but I blocked her with my injured arm. Don't be like this, son. For whoever is. And if you're scared to tell us, we don't care who you like. Either, Shirhi. Dad pondered. I laughed at this. Thanks, Dad. But I'm almost a lesbian, so much I like who got it, son. Thanks. We get it. You're straight. God, where did I go wrong? Mom snickered and left the table. Dad laughed at her words. After I went back to my bedroom, I did the only thing I could think of to take my mind off her. I played video games till I dropped dead asleep. Next morning, warrior practice was awkward as she barely spoke a word to me. It was so weird even Emmett sensed it. Are you two okay? He asked as he trained evasive maneuvers. I am great. Cousin, thanks for asking. Just a little sore from yesterday. I replied with a fake smile. I'm excellent. I'm so pumped I'm in love with this day. Rosalind spoke. Cheerfully. See what she did there. Glad to hear, cousin. This day is really awesome. Anyone would love it. I argued. No, not everyone. Emmett doesn't love it. Plenty of people don't love it. She rebuked. Emmett looked confused. Actually, I do love it. It's a great day. He spoke and we laughed out loud. He looked even more confused. I know, Emmett. You're right. It's a great day. You can't help but love it, I said, smiling. That's enough chat for today. Brats, move or you'll be doing laps till fall. Aunt Denise reprimanded us. Damn it. She was so good. I was in awe. Imagine what she had to endure to make Delta. And in her time, there were maybe 3 female warriors out of 50. Now, there are at least 10, not counting her. As we walked back from training, I went to the pack house cause Mom had a shift and Dad was working. Matt was at daycare, so the house was empty. I already had my pack bag closed. I carried a change at the pack house. The walk was silent, but we chalked that up to tiredness. Aunt Denise worked us to the bone. Children, you smell. Even for me. I'm merely human. Uncle Felix snickered as we entered. He gestured, fanning his nose. We know which way. Daddy, Aunt Denise is gonna kill us from training so we don't ascend. Razzle and joked. Sort of. John, your dad said to tell you that he will be out all afternoon. But the house is at your disposal. After you shower. Of course. Uncle Felix said in an amusing tone. Thank you, Uncle. I'll go to the warrior's locker room. It's gonna be empty at this hour. I answered him. I smiled, but I was beat. So I went straight over there. It does have great showers. Plus, no warrior uses at this time. They are all out during the day. So, I'll be left alone. I entered the place. It was a communal shower for the male warriors of the pack. It had plenty of space to change in a locker to keep clothes, which is handy because not all warriors lived inside the compound. But most of them showered and changed here. Anyway, I only needed a towel. I had my clean clothes ready inside my bag. I stripped completely, put my clothes on a bench and hop in the shower. The water caresses my aching body like nobody's business. I almost drift off to sleep showering when I hear footsteps approaching. Uncle Felix, is that you? Did you bring a towel? I shouted while bathing. Normally, Uncle Felix would place the towel at the changing area. That way he doesn't have to come anywhere near the showers. Like I said, the locker room was big enough for all the warriors. But that didn't happen today. When I hear footsteps nearing the shower, I yell again, Uncle Felix. Is that you? I'd had no idea who it could be if it weren't for him. And even if he needed to speak to me, he'd never go into the shower area. He knows I can listen to him from the entrance. Of course, it could be a warrior, but unless they've omitted on themselves, no one would shower at this hour. It's barely 11. May know. It isn't. Rosalind said as she entered the space with a towel in her hand, and I nearly fainted. Rosalind, get away from here. Are you crazy? I'm naked. I shouted the obvious as I used my hands to cover the essentials. How dare you say you love me? How dare you spring this on me? Are you crazy? She shouted, not backing down from the spot. Rosalind, I mean it. Get out. You can't be in here. This is the male locker room. I reprimanded her. I was pissed. There is no female locker room. There's only this. Sexist. She rebuked. Of course. She's right. But when the pack house was built, there weren't any female warriors. It wasn't allowed. Take it up with your dad. Who is the alpha? I'm just following the rules. Do you want me to get expelled from the pack? I said, pissed off. Obviously, I wouldn't be expelled over this. I'm not the one breaking the rules. She is. Plus, it's prohibited to expel minors unless they committed a crime under pack law. Why did you say that yesterday? You little fucker. She screamed at me. First of all, I'm not little anything. I nearly exposed myself but resisted the urge. I do love you. I can't help it. What do you want me to do? I asked her with a blank expression as the water fell on me. I did love her. I can't run away from my feelings. Not tell me. We hear footsteps approaching the locker room, so she bolts from the shower area, leaving the towel behind over the bench. After she left, I heard she telling Uncle Felix that she already got me a towel, and he thanked her for being such a nice cousin. I finished the shower, but by now I couldn't shake her presence off my mind, so I did what I could in the situation. I mean, I might as well enjoy the shower. Many minutes later, after I got dressed, I stopped by her room and entered without knocking. What are you doing here? You can enter my room. Can you knock? She gasped at my presence. I'm sorry, princess. Am I invading your space? Do you feel your privacy was breached? I spat at her. I was livid. I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't mean to perv on you. I was just really pissed at you from yesterday. She spoke honestly, looking a little defeated, which of course disarmed me completely. I know. I get it. Like I said, it was a spur-of-the-moment kind of thing. I defended myself. I know it was, but I hate it anyway. You fucker. She cursed at me. I'm sorry. Okay? I promise not to say I love you anymore. Even though I do. I came near her at the bed. I can't help but smile at her every time I see her. Get away from me. Don't come near. I'm warning you. She fake put up a fight. I do go near her and I stand an inch close to her, whispering, I love you. I wait for her to make a move. I do the gentlemanly thing. I open the door. Eventually, she kissed me passionately. I melted on her lips. I held her close. Just because you're in my room, don't get any ideas. She warned me in between kisses. I would never presume. Plus, Uncle Felix is about to knock on your door in 3.2. I kissed her some more before Uncle Felix knocked on the door. Goddess? I love her. I can't help it. I do. LT3 Chapter 6, Gotta Find You, Emmett. Have you ever seen those romantic comedies when you get to the part that the couple separates just before reuniting at the end? You know, pretty much every single one follows the same trope. Imagine that. But without the meet cute. I shouldn't be brooding over someone I've never met. But here I am. And yes, I probably won't meet her till autumn. And it sucks. That my Abula was right. The goddess really can't be rushed. That I would if I could. After a difficult training session earlier. Not that it gets any easier. We are having lunch with my cousin too, whose parents are out working. I was privileged my dad's worked from home. My ex-lady, my sated mate. Light slashed around me and my woos on with the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. So, how was training today? Dad asked us with a smile. It was great. Uncle, Aunt Denise is gonna shape us into great warriors. John replied, cheerfully. Aunt Denise grinned. Stop sucking up to the Delta. She's not the one who chooses the Beta. Rosalind snickered. But she touched on a sore spot for John, who scowled. We all knew ever since my cousin first shifted he was gunning for Beta. Which is fair. You know, his dad's the Beta. His grandfather was to before he died and so on. Honestly, if anyone could relate to that was me. So I get it. However, I already have my Beta. It's Cole, my best friend since kindergarten. Though I didn't have the heart to tell John, so I avoided the issue altogether. And I am thankful he never asked me. Also, there's the fact that he's 2 years younger than me, which means we couldn't ascend together even if I picked him. You could only ascend at 18. Except for the Luna, who ascends with the Alpha, regardless of their age. I do feel sorry for him. This sucks. And he is such a nice kid. I know she doesn't. Cousin. I just like my training. He replied in a somber tone. You know, nephew, there was never any doubt on who'd be my Beta. Of course. It was gonna be my brother. He literally was born for it. Like I for Alpha. I just want you to know, whoever these knuckly heads choose, you'd make an excellent Beta. My dad spoke and it cheered him up. Thanks. Uncle Dan, you're the best. John replied, smiling widely. Yes, nephew. But if you don't get picked, there's also Delta. Not that I'm retiring anytime soon. Aunt Denise chimed in. She looked happy for a change. Thanks, Aunt Denise. I'll be the best warrior this pack has ever seen after you. John told her, cheerfully. That's the spirit. She pats his shoulder. Barf. I think you must be a masochist. Cousin. Rosalind snickered. If a masochist is someone who is appreciative of his opportunities, then yes. I am. He rebuked. They were at odds. For once, my sister and cousin. Usually they got along great. Okay, Dad. Can't you order the school to start earlier this year? I nearly shouted. Son, I'm the Alpha, not the governor or the mayor. For that matter, when do you ever want summer to end faster? Dad looked at me gasped. Daddy was shocked too. He realized today that he'll only meet his mystery girl at school. Rosalind interjected, looking proud of herself. Like somehow this delay was her victory. Dad's moan at the realization. I see. Sorry. Son, there's nothing I can do. But if she's human, you won't know for sure until you're 18 anyway. He tried to comfort me, but it didn't work. Right? Like you didn't know Daddy Felix was your mate before you turned 18. Dad, please. I have the blood of the Alpha. I need to know before I ascend. I scoffed. Everyone here knows his and Daddy's story. In fact, every single Huntington Alpha have known who their mate was before 18. We've been blessed by the goddess in that way for more than 1 year. If you ascend, brother, Rosalind interjected, right on to you. When I ascend, I promise that you'll be by my side. Little sister, I would make you Beta, but that would be beneath you. I teased her. She was fuming. You can take your Beta in. Rosalind, John yelled, startling everyone at the table. Have some respect. He was looking her dead in the eyes. He was pissed off. You're right. Cousin, I'm sorry. She apologized to him. I gasped. Even my dad's gasped. She never apologizes to anyone. Thank you. I know it may not seem like much to you, but right now my dad is out there working on behalf of the pack. John continued. Everybody was silent after this. However, Dad was beaming with pride. I've never been more proud to be your uncle than now. John, you remind me of your father more each coming day. It's amazing. Dad commended him. John was radiant. Not to mention the look. Rosalind interjected. We looked at her surprised. I mean, they look more and more like each other. She continued, as if apologizing. Not much later, I took my leave and went to bed. I wasn't in the mood for much activity. I just brushed my teeth and hoped for the best. I mean, I took a nap after lunch. Hi, gorgeous. What's your name? I asked as I approached her in the bleachers. My name is Samantha. And yours? Emmett Huntington. Nice to meet you. I told her and tried to shake her hand, but she doesn't reach out to give it to me. You too. Do you live here? She asked me. We were interrupted by heckling from the other team. But when I pay attention to it, they're calling her names. She looked distressed. I take her off to another distant spot. Are you okay? I asked her when we get to a quieter place outside the gymnasium. I am now. Do you always do this? Rescue damsels in distress. She snickered in a shy laughter. Not really. I guess you bring that in me. I admitted to her. Awkwardly. That's good to know. What else do I bring out in you? She asked sheepishly. Well, I tell you, but I'd have to kiss you first. I croaked wow. Smooth. Dude, get the fuck away from me. Creep. She barked at me and left. Wait. I'm sorry. Samantha. Come back. I tried to apologize to her, but it's too late. She's gone. Emmett. Dinner time. Daddy knocked at my door. Opened just a little. Spoke and closed again. It was his daily ritual to his children. I just had lunch and now it's already dinner. How much time did I sleep? I said it out loud as I woke up. I go to the bathroom to wash my face for dinner. At the dining hall. And Daphne and Uncle Nate are here with John and Matt, as they probably didn't have time to cook. She's always fun to be around. Good evening. Aunt Daphne. Uncle Nate. Matt Spidey. My fated mate. Lights flashed around me and my room spun with the heavy techno music the DJ was playing. I spoke as I take my seat. They greeted me back. Dads. I know her name. I couldn't wait to tell them. To be honest, my sister was shook by my words. So was John, but not in the same intensity. Really? Emmett. Cool. What's her name? Daddy asked, smiling. He was so excited for me. I tell them about the second dream and everything that happened, and Aunt Daphne started laughing by the end of it. I'm sorry. About it. I'm not laughing at you. It's just that was almost what happened to me and Nate on our first date. But you're much more of a gentleman. You wanted a kiss. Nate wanted to get naked. She told us as she laughed. We gasped, though everyone know their story. It's a cautionary tale of how a werewolf met a human and almost scared off his mate completely. To shift? Not to. You know, Uncle Nate defended himself. Way to go, Dad. I'll be sure to tell my mate when I meet her that I want to get naked too. John joked, but his parents didn't laugh. Don't do that, son. I mean it. It took a long time to convince your mom I wasn't a pervert. I was just poor, and didn't want to ruin my clothes. Uncle Nate spoke very seriously. That was a joke, Dad. Jijan huffed. Can I just say, it's eerie that you show up to defend our cause. That's exactly how your dad got me to notice him. He saved me from a bully in the locker room. I mean, he nearly killed a guy. But other than that, Daddy said, and we gasped. Even Aunt Daphne didn't know about that. Thanks, Felix. He accused me of defending my boyfriend. I was very much in denial. Nate talked me down. Thankfully, Dad glared at Daddy. He tried to defend himself, and Uncle Nate corroborated with his face. Oh, right. Was that the first time you saw it and Nate naked? Aunt Daphne asked, and we nearly spit our food. Daphne. Daddy yelled at her. It was the locker room. Let it go. Daddy was troubled by her words. But it's not the first time she says this. Even with us present. You guys are so gross. I don't want to see anybody naked. Rosalind chimed in. John coughed for some reason. You must be grossed out like I am. You say that now. But when you find your mate, everything in him will drive your wolf crazy. I nearly lost my V card at your father's wedding when I found Tony. Aunt Denise told us with a naughty grin. Oh my goddess. Tia, my dad shouted. He was shook. Sorry. I mean everything in them. I don't mean to presume. Aunt Denise corrected herself, smiling. Wait. So Dad defended you in the locker room like in the first dream. Wow, I pondered. Yes, but Felix and Daniel are men. They showered together. Why would you dream about a girl in your locker room and... Oh my God. Aunt Daphne shouted as she realized something. What? Aunt Daphne? I asked her. Curiously. I saw Daddy signaling for her not to speak. And I was pissed. I knew you knew something. Daddy. And now Aunt Daphne does too. Why won't you tell me what it is? I yelled at him. Son, there was a moment when your dad was telling Uncle Nate about a dream he had with me. See, when he started telling his family. Your family about the dreams he was having. He left out the pronoun so they didn't figure out it was a boy. So when he told Nate about it in private, he let it slip it was a him. In this moment, the most important thing Nate could have done is to reassure your dad that knowledge wouldn't change the relationship they had. Of course, he shouted about it in the room, but your uncle never repeated what he had learned from his brother. Daddy, Dad, Uncle Nate. Aunt Daphne's eyes were all misty. My point is, there's something that no one should reveal about you but yourself. Your dad told about his mate to his family when he felt he could. Nate never revealed that to anyone. Not even Daphne. And that is, till this day, the most proud I've ever felt of my sister's mate. He spoke. Proudly. I mean, at least until Nate had to take care of John by himself while Daphne went to med school. That's when I realized my sister really won the jackpot. Daddy giggled. I'm lost. What does any of this have to do with me? I asked him, puzzled. What your aunt and I realized it about her is something that only she can tell you. When you fight her. Not before. Not after. He concluded. Damn, Dad. I didn't know you kept Uncle Dan's secret like that. John admired. He was in awe of his dad. When I told you that your dad was the most decent, perfect gentleman I've ever met, I wasn't exaggerating. John. If only he learned how to keep the toilet seat down. And Daphne snickered and we all laughed. Mom, don't remind me. Rosalind still gives me grief about that day. John blurted, in a somber tone. He's referring to the conversation that took place the day after he first shifted. Of course. Cousin, in the immortal words of my brother, a maid is not a sex addict. She snickered. Rosalind was the best at taking digs at me. Oh my goddess. Dad yelled. Gobsmacked. They all laughed. Of course. But not me. I was just curious. What could she possibly have to reveal to me? Whatever it is, I'd like to know it ASAP. Preferably from her lips to mine. I need to find her as soon as possible. Thank you all for joining me in the wild world of Wild Werewolf. I hope you had an amazing time. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave your comments and likes. And come back for more wild adventures. See you next time.